Today we're talking about a Supreme Court case that involves one of my podcast videos, so it's going to be really interesting. A way you can support the work that I do on this channel, a great way to do it because frankly, the Supreme Court case involves a video that YouTube ripped offline. It's not easy to stay in business when what you do is cover censorship. Consider joining the Alison Wine Club, okay? These wines, without just being something that supports a show, are amazing in their own right. They all come from very rare and somewhat extreme conditions, like extreme altitude or very remote regions where it's difficult to grow wine, and the payoff is the taste. You can't get wine like this at the grocery store. These are small batch, limited edition, hand-picked grapes, natural fermentation, no dyes, no fillers, none of that stuff. They're just great wines, and they come with a great message that free speech is worth fighting for. And you can do it, like I said, by always having an amazing gift in your hand for whatever awkward party you're showing up to. If you join the club, you'll get 6 bottles of these wines every 3 months. We're all going to be drinking the same ones at the same time. You get to hear about where they come from. You'll get to hear from the guy who goes around the world and honestly, in some cases, risks his life to find the best bottles of wine. So go to AlisonWinePromo.com, sign up, and I'll see you over there. Actually, this story is close to the heart for me because one of my videos was actually in this case. The Supreme Court rules for Biden administration in a social media dispute with conservative states. It's an interesting way to frame the story. But my backstory in all of this is that Dr. Aaron Kheriaty pulled the video down. He was, at the time, Dr. Kheriaty was, he was the medical ethics director at the University of California, Irvine, and practicing psychiatrist. And he was suing over the vaccine mandate and citing natural immunity. That was his argument, that he said he had already had COVID. He shouldn't have to get the shot. And YouTube pulled the video down. I went to Twitter, which we always did back then. And I guess now I don't even play the game anymore. But back then I played the game, and I would go to Twitter and I would whine and say, hey, everybody, we got kicked off of YouTube. Help us get back on. And then YouTube would let us back on. But in this particular case, my bosses actually at the Department of Natural Resources in Washington saw that tweet, which shouldn't have been a surprise. They knew I had a podcast. They just had stopped paying attention. And then they said, well, you can't talk to people like this. We have a vaccine mandate and this makes us look bad. And I said, well, it's my personal time. I'm going to do what I want. You can tell me what I can do on my personal time. And they said, yes, we can. And so they fired me over that video. But this video, well, not just that, but because I wouldn't stop what they were asking me to stop for the future. But that particular video is in this Missouri v. Biden case where Dr. Kheriaty and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya were arguing that the big tech platforms are basically used by the U.S. government as an arm of the government to violate First Amendment rights. And so they make it all the way to the Supreme Court. And I guess the Supreme Court threw it out on standing, which, if I understand correctly, is like, you haven't been able to prove that you were injured by this, so there's no lawsuit here. So I don't know if it's just over or what, but it's like kind of an anticlimactic end to all of this. They didn't decide on it. I would have preferred they just decided, no, you can't prove that Biden's administration was pressuring the companies. So, or no, they're allowed to pressure, at least then we kind of get an answer about what the future looks like here. Is this okay that they do this? Is it not okay? I mean, what's going to happen? But we don't really get that answer in any of this. We just get the answer that like, hey, you can't prove damages. So we're not even going to decide on it. I don't know what your thoughts are on it.
So over the last several years, I've been able to get to know and become what I would consider friends with Jared Beck. The name's kind of tingling a little bit. Jared Beck is the guy who, along with his wife, Elizabeth, and Tim Canova, sued the DNC back in 2017 for fraud on behalf of all of the people who had donated through Act Blue or the DNC to Bernie Sanders. And this is where you get the quotes about, the DNC can choose candidates in a smoke-filled back room, and, a donation to a candidate doesn't have anything to do with how your money gets processed. And technically, there's no such thing as a Democrat, stuff like that. Jared said both times that their case got brought, dismissed in the Supreme Court on standing. Jared said that cases that get dismissed for standing, what the Supreme Court is saying is, we're not going to touch this. We're not going to go anywhere near this case. It's going to make too many heads roll. We don't want any part of this. And so it's a weasel way out for them, because you can throw out, according to him anyway, you can throw out just about anything on standing if you work hard enough and you like find a way to weasel out of it. And that's what they're effectively trained to do. So having said that, like, I totally understand why the case got thrown out on standing, and why there's no rule, because if you make a ruling, then you have to then somebody can sue you for not enforcing it. Right. And then it's way
Okay.
easier
Yeah.
to get compensation in that lawsuit, because you made the decision and you put it down in paper and now it's codified. So if they throw it out on standing, then the practice gets to continue until another lawsuit is brought from a different angle that forces them to rule on it.
Yep. I see that. Well, in this AP article, they have a quote from Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, that says, yeah, exactly. It helps ensure the Biden administration can continue our important work with technology companies to protect the safety and security of the American people after years of extreme and unfounded Republican attacks on public officials who engaged in critical work to keep Americans safe. So it's it's a very politicized, polemic football. This case, unfortunately, the reporting about it has not really shown the variety of people in at least who have been talking about this. It always gets framed as if it's like a conservative AG and Republicans who just, anti-vaxxer Republicans or whatever, that just don't like the Biden administration. They're pro-Trump, and just doesn't really like get into the merits of any of the concerns, like the real concerns that people have had about the collusion of the government with the tech companies. And in this article, they don't even, until like halfway through, they don't even say that, like, here it is. The justices did not weigh in on the substance of the state's claims or the administration's response to their decision. So they have a lot in there that's just like, Republican says this, Democrat says this, Republican says this, Democrat. But then it's like in the middle, it's like, oh, by the way, like the Supreme Court didn't even, they didn't even decide on the merits of the case. So like all these people who are making political statements about it, like, you're just saying the same thing you're saying before. The case makes no difference to it. They didn't say that, you get to, quote, keep more Americans safe. That's what, like, oh yeah, like the Supreme Court just decided that the Biden administration was just trying to keep people safe, and we agree with them keeping people safe. But that, it's so they're just halfway down, they kind of throw that in there that, it's just a standing thing. And I think maybe, I don't know if many people really got that. I'm guessing with the headlines and stuff, most people just think like, oh, this is just more Republicans complaining and the Supreme Court, told them what's up.
Yeah. Supreme Court settled their hash, threw that nonsense out. And yeah, most people don't even read the full headline anymore. Remember when it was like 60% of Americans don't read past the headline? It's like 80% don't read the full headline now. If you can't get it in 7.5 seconds from TikTok, it ain't worth knowing.
If you're somebody who has been interested in learning more about switching your IRA or 401k over to precious metals, it's a great way to support the show. For somebody who just has a cell phone and no friends, then this is another way to just pass some time. Alison with 1L. I hopefully don't have to tell a whole lot of people that my name has 1L, ALISON. Text it to 989-898, and they'll send you every little bit of information you ever wanted and more on how to, or whether this is even right for you. If you're interested in, like I said, converting an IRA or 401k, they've been in business over 20 years. They've helped lots of people, and they have lots of 5-star ratings. Ron Paul's there right on the front. Okay. My PO box is 3355, Denellen, Florida, 34432. I got a postcard of the Northern Lights. I got seeds from somebody who sent me some seeds for plants to grow well in Florida. I've gotten nice donations for the show. And honestly, it's just really a joy to go check the PO box with my kids. They open the cards. So make sure they're kid friendly. Just put that disclaimer up. But it's really fun for us. We go to the PO box about every other week, check the mail, and they get to open the cards, and it's always lots of fun. So send me some mail. PO Box 3355, Denellen, Florida 34432. This doesn't make any sense. Some free speech advocates praised the result, but lamented how little guidance the court provided. Quote, the platforms are attractive targets for official pressure, and so it's crucial the Supreme Court clarify the line between permissible attempts to persuade and impermissible attempts to coerce, said Alex Abdo, litigation director of the Knights First Amendment Institute. This guidance would have been especially valuable in the months leading up to the election. How is that praising the result? I don't understand that.
Anyway. Yeah, that's some clever wordplay there. I think, okay, so is the way that you make this a Supreme Court case that they have to address, and I would love for over the next, week or so or something like that, if you could just let me know what your audience has to say about this, because I'm asking your audience, is the way that we then get the Supreme Court to address this, force it to be a Third Amendment lawsuit against forced quartering of troops in your house, because everybody's computer and everybody's phone has multiple militaries and multiple intelligence agencies in your home at all time without your consent. You're quartering troops effectively. They're in your, so is that a way to do it? Maybe not, because they're digital. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But another comment that came in, according to Robert Barnes, standing is BS, get out of jail free card for government officials. I mean, I have heard that quite a bit over the last few years. I just, I hear, oh, this is thrown out on standing. This is thrown out on standing. This is thrown out on standing. I don't know. I mean, oh man, I have such a mixed opinion about suing the government these days, because on one hand, it feels like we're already like losing by having to take all of this to court constantly. Not only because it's costly, a lot of people can't afford it unless you get like a nonprofit to take your case. It's time consuming, it's stressful. And then on top of it, just like you get to the Supreme Court and then they go, after 2 years, they're like, no, and not because you didn't necessarily prove it or not, just because I don't want to say the word, but there's all a bunch of bitches. You know what I mean? They just, everybody's a freaking coward these days. And it's just the political infusion of the judicial system. I just don't even know. I mean, I asked Leslie Manukian with the Health Freedom Defense Fund about all this, because I'm like, that's what you guys do. You sue, like that's what you do. You sue for people's rights. I mean, is that a winning strategy? Because it just seems like the courts are not really, like, at the end of the day, a bastion of a politically free judges that really focus on the Constitution. And it also seems like, maybe this is naive of me to assume, but like, what if the government had to prove what it was doing was legal first? Before they did it, before, and then we didn't, because now they just do what they want. And then we have the responsibility is on us to prove that it's illegal. But shouldn't they have to prove it's legal first? And then they should pay our attorneys' fees. I don't know. I mean, why are we paying their attorneys' fees and the ones always having to hold them accountable? It just seems like suing. I mean, I don't know what the other option is. Okay, you could run to Florida like we did. I mean, we didn't. There were other reasons we came to Florida, but some people criticize, oh, you can run, but you can't hide. I'll come to Florida eventually. And like, Florida's not perfect. DeSantis has his own issues, but like, okay, you could go to court, but then you get this kind of stuff. And now you've wasted how much money and how much time? How do you stand up for your rights? You could go to jail like Assange, but don't forget my liver supplement.
Right. Take the fish oil. Do that.
Fish oil.
The omega-3s, right? Get that in you.
Those would go for a good price in federal prison.
I'm sure they would. I mean, there's a number of different things that you can do that if you can encourage more people in your immediate sphere to do will help all of this happen. The only way that we break any of this is via counter economics. The current monetary system, the faith-based one that we have, is not working. It's collapsing. We're all aware of this, I'm sure. The gold market, for as good an idea as it is to have and hold gold, is also heavily controlled by the exact same people. The CBDC that's coming is your slave bracelet. So the not having an economic system that's counter to that in place is the only way that you can realistically get out of this. And how do you get there is you, number one, as best as you possibly can, fire your grocery store. If you can't grow it, get to know the people in your immediate area that grow and produce it, including and especially the meat that you put into your body, because grocery store meat is designed to kill you. It is. And I don't really care where you're buying it from. If you're not buying it from your local rancher or producer and eliminating those 12, to 7 to 12 touch points that happen with your food, you're not putting actual food into your body. Then if you can have I'm not a huge crypto guy. Like, I think we need to find another way to exchange money. But if you're using some of the pirate coins or something like that, I don't advocate Bitcoin, but other people do, and there's a way to pay for everything with it. Just extricate yourself in bits and pieces. If you start with your food, it's even better. You can almost always barter for a refrigerator full of vegetables, almost always. Damn near the same with eggs. There's all kinds of ways that you can liberate yourself from your grocery store. That in turn increases your overall health, which decreases your doctor visits and your propensity to spend most of your elderly years in and out of hospitals. That healthcare scam is another huge way of slowly bankrupting the beast. The thing that we really are at a disadvantage with is technology. But again, dude, it's if enough people do enough little things every day, that has a huge impact. People get mad when I'm like, oh, just grow food and make bullets. But it's really kind of is that simple.